Hello and welcome to week number 3. We'll preview the week and see what the opportunities are in relation to the events happening on the Forex calendar. The first thing I'd like to look at this week is the real yield treasury. So real yields have inverse correlation with gold. So as you can see here, it's been rising on the opposite side. Gold has been falling slightly. I'm going to invert this chart so we can overlay that with gold and have a better optics on it. I'm going to use a CFD instrument here to overlay that, and largely on the daily you can see that real yields inverted with gold has got a good correlation. Now real yields peeled off quite strongly, but gold hasn't reacted lower yet. I'm expecting this to play out very soon. Mind you, January is usually a really positive month for gold, so it's kind of struggling, the whole narrative right now. And if you approach by the end of January and gold hasn't reflected the drop yet, you're pretty certain then time is about up, and you should expect gold to come lower as Federal Reserve is looking to raise rates starting March. So that's one of the themes I'm looking at right now. Another thing to do with yen pairs that's interesting to me is inflation expectations. So that's the chart where bond traders hedge out the inflation expectation 5 years out. It did peak about 3% last year. I'm expecting this to stay under that, but it also explains a lot of the movements in yen pairs. I'm taking AUDJPY here as a correlation chart, and you can see it perfectly lines up. And the thing is, sometimes with currencies there's things involving that's really difficult to read trajectory, but with inflation expectation you're pretty certain that the next big move is to the downside, not higher, as inflation is expected to peak about February or March time. Excuse me. So that will give you an understanding where you want to trend trade yen pairs in the long term. However, next week we have something interesting happening. So first of all, you saw inflation expectation went up a little bit. AUDJPY didn't reflect that. The reason is yen is right now rallying because market got it in its head that Bank of Japan wants to raise rates at some point, or at least signal that they're looking to raise rates, which in my opinion is extremely absurd. BOJ is nowhere close to ever thinking about raising rates. And that's why I think yen is vulnerable next week. That's not one of the only reasons. CFTC data also showed there was a strong short orders building in the yen again. I really like this to reflect on the charts. So I'm going to take you down to show you the charts I am looking at that I'm interested to trade next week. Let's clear up these comparisons and let's go to actually what I like to look at is NZDJPY. One of the reasons I like to look at NZDJPY is twofold. One, the New Zealand dollar in the CFTC data has made no movement, no shorts, no longs, or nothing that is worth talking about, which makes a pretty neutral currency right now. On the other hand, you got the yen, which had incredibly big short build up last week, and the CRT data. Also, I'm really expecting on Tuesday when we have BOJ, so the Bank of Japan, if you're London time, will be in early hours. They'll be announcing their monetary policy, which I think they will disappoint the bulls. So they will say, look, we're not really looking to increase rates for a very long time. It's not on our mind. That's why I think NZDJPY will have an opportunity to do a relief rally. Ideally even cover all the way back up to 70.80. So I'm going to mark this level and see if we can hit it down the week. So that's the sort of level I'm hoping we can see the bounce back into. You might have noticed I have singled out with vertical lines specific spots over the past 6 months on NZDJPY. It's not a specific reason why it's 6 months. I went further back as well, and that seemed to be holding true. And the reason was there was these turning points in NZDJPY every single time. Can you see that? So here on that day we had a bit of a reversal. Here on that day we had a major reversal. Here we had the trend continuation that day happening, and then here we actually found a ceiling. Maybe the next day with one last rip. Here we had another trend continuation. Here we had found the bottom. So every time something happens here on these dates, we see these huge moves in NZDJPY. To some extent, other yen pairs as well. So it got me thinking. So I started a little bit digging. And to your surprise, I did find out what it is. It turns out it's a Bank of China meeting that's causing these reversals every single time. The next Bank of China meeting, or the PBOC, it's the People Banks of China, sorry, to be exact, is actually on Thursday, and I believe they're about to cut some rates as well. So stay tuned. I think we're going to see some really interesting moves, or a pivotal move in yen pair starting Thursday that should grip markets for quite some time. And you will find that the narrative then falls in place to why things happen that way and such happen. But really what I want to find out is here the swing points that I pointed out here is very likely to happen on Thursday as well. So the trade might not be on Thursday, the trade might be on Friday, but you know you're going to have a point of anchor point where you can run really tight stops because you're going to find yourself a reversal. So pay a lot of attention on Thursday, the People Bank of China meeting. Another thing I like to talk about is the US 10-year yield. Right now in a situation where we usually never are. It's in a really tight range, it was trading in a really tight range, and there was a fear if we break under 70, we can easily see 1.5 and lower, 1.5 probably. But now that we're breaking higher, Friday made it very clear, look, we're looking higher. We are looking at 190 again. I need to go to the weekly here so we can see these levels again. So right now I'm looking at this to extend all the way to 190 as early as next week. And that is usually good for yen pairs. Again, that plays into my hand why I like to buy NZDJPY. NZD a bit more neutral, yen pair. Yen a little bit exhausted. It's had big short position building up, but it hasn't reflected in price yet. 2, the Bank of Japan very likely to disappoint. Rate hike bets. I like to see the reaction function where things move back up. So NZDJPY feels like a really good vessel to do that. Apart from that, next week starting Monday, United States is shot. Observation for Martin Luther King, I believe, and beyond that, we will have on Tuesday, as I said, the Bank of Japan meeting. And on Wednesday, some interesting, we'll have Bailey speaking from the Bank of England. So I'd like to see what the reaction will be with pound. I'm having a bit difficulties to really make up my mind if I think pound is going to go higher from here. The whole surge the last 2 weeks was made sense, right? Made a lot of sense. We discussed it, how it could happen, why it was happening. But beyond that, there's one of the things that is causing me a little bit of to stop and watch to see what's happening is the 2-year yield on the pound. Let me see if I can overlay this. 2-year yield on the pound dipped a little bit, and I'm not too sure if you can see the rally continue here. It could easily continue another 100 pips, but I think the easy trade for the pound is over here. Short starting to build up. So let's see. CFTC data is still very strong. CFTC data is showing shorts are covering and the longs are building up to positions even stronger. So see how we go from here. Certainly these levels are quite important to look at to decipher the next movements. Bank of England again, head honcho Bailey will be speaking on Wednesday, which will give me an idea or two about where we headed. On Thursday we have the People Bank of China meeting, which will be very pivotal for yen pair, specifically NZDJPY, as I showed you in the charts just now. And we've got employment as well for Australia, which I think will be market moving. And then on Friday, I don't really have a lot of data to work with. So it really comes down to 1 or 2 trade ideas for me next week. Not a lot to work with, but that also means that we have a little bit more time to gather information, a bit more research as we're moving towards the back end of January to see what sort of moves can develop down there. I hope you found this video useful. I'm wishing you a very successful week next week, and I will meet you again next Sunday. Thank you and bye.